skips away. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing.
Bennett and the Dragons win the grand final.
Welcome back to another episode of the TGIF Podcast. Thank God it's footy. I guess we'll get straight into it. The news story that's been dominating the headlines of the Rugby League world for the past week and a half since it dropped, whenever it was. We spoke about it last week off camera. Have your thoughts changed at all?
Oh, it's a tough one.
Have you calmed down a bit, or are you sort of sticking true with what you said? Get them out of there as soon as you can.
I think after just sort of hearing what they were talking about on Fox there, I kind of agree with sort of the route of trying to get them out early and getting that little bit of extra cash and being able to throw it somewhere else and putting the faith into Latu Whanau.
Yeah, that's the big one, because I think he's off contract same time as Galvin.
I think so, yeah, but it's more just it's hard for the rest of the team to sort of get behind them again. I think after what's been said.
Yeah, that's a strange one. I don't know how. I've got that point later on as well, but I don't know how this weekend's going to go with him being named. Obviously, he's going to try his heart out as a professional, so the other lads around them, you'd like to hope.
Didn't do anything for the Magpies on the weekend. They ended up
team chemistry.
I don't think he was up to too much there, but hopefully he can just come back and find that same form and come back firing, But
I mean, I'm sure Lockie Galvin has 10 kilos on me as well, but fuck, I wouldn't want to be him out there without having a few of those bigger boys, your Fainus and your Seyfarths and your Terrell Mays of the world backing you up.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a different sort of atmosphere.
Like what I thought, I had this buzzy ass thought. I was like, what if Galvin gets in a biff and just no one from Tigers helps him out?
I can see something like that possibly.
Like that would be quite loose. Like everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, I understand," but also kind of loose. If you are wearing the same jersey, you probably do want to be a bit more professional about it. But
yeah,
biff, that's a different scenario. That's I wonder how that would go down. I'm sure Galvin's not the sort of bloke to get in any biffs, but yeah, look, if I'm the Sharkies, someone like Ronaldo is going to be chirping at him. One of those pests in the Sharkies there. I can't really think of anyone else in the Sharks that's too much of a pest at the moment. Ronaldo seems like he'd be keen to give it a bit of lip.
Oh, I think the whole
surely
Sharks
they'll
team
be
will be aware of obviously everything that's been going on and trying to get them fired up. And obviously we saw the likes of Taruva there on the weekend get pretty fired up in the midst of everything that was going on. And I'm sure the Sharks will be trying to go out there and get the rest of the team fired up. I mean, over the last few years we've been known for a little sin bin here and there, and I'm pretty sure that they'll be after that and go out there and sort of capitalise and. Nico Hines take the reins there in a little 10-minute period with 13 on 12 or something like that. But yeah, hopefully we can turn it around a little bit and get back on the winning train and keep steering away from that fourth wooden spoon, ideally.
Look, I don't think that's on the cards. The way some of these other teams are playing at the moment. Yeah, obviously a huge week for the Tigers and the headlines, so interesting to see how they bounce back. Probably hasn't cooled off a hell of a lot with the old legal proceedings and shit, but once it does cool off, I think we'll see. When's Fainu back? Is he back?
I think he said a couple of weeks.
That'll be interesting as well once he's available, whether
or not they play him or not. Yeah, I think you possibly do look to play him then.
Move Fainu back into the starting spot.
He's got to be there and some sort of role on the interchange and getting a bit of game time. But yeah, I think it's still a couple more weeks, and hopefully a win there this weekend, and then go into Magic Round in a little bit of good form coming up against Real Dragons.
Yeah, first TGIF derby live. First one of the season. We'll be over there in person, ready to soak in the magic round. But before then, obviously we've got a couple. Well, we've got one more round to get through. But we'll reflect back on last round and some of the best performers there. Our team of the week. Starting off at the back, Dylan Edwards, back in fine form. Couple of weeks after returning from his injury there, and helping the Penrith Panthers snap their cold streak, their 5-loss streak. Big win over the Roosters there. Big performance from Dylan Edwards.
Yeah, obviously there was quite a few tries sort of probably led in over the few weeks there at the back with Edwards missing, and he's come back in and made his way back into a winning side and into a team of the week there, and joined there in a back three by Sloan and Addo Carr on your two wingers there. Addo Carr definitely fired up in that game up against the Tigers there on the weekend.
100%, yeah. Did he score a couple? He definitely scored one.
Scored two, yeah.
Scored two, set one up. Sloaney scored a couple as well. Obviously, nice little sort of intercept / pick up off the Manly era to run the length of the field there, which ended up being the difference. So good on him. Obviously, slotting into the wing there this season. With Gutho's arrival and doing a pretty good job the last couple of weeks. So shout out to him. Bronson Sherry and Herbie Farnworth in the centres there. Two massive wins for both their sides, piling on the points. Dolphins cracked the 40. Doggies weren't too far off it, but zero points.
Another clean sheet for them there. So looking very strong.
Pretty fucked.
Defensively there, it's pretty crazy. 2 clean sheets.
2 in a row is gnarly stuff.
Pretty unheard of.
Especially when you consider, it's I guess looking back on it, Easter Monday, it probably was about 80% Bulldogs fans in the crowd there, but it was a massive crowd. So yeah, good nod to the Doggies and how they'll handle finals in the future. But
yeah,
they're
looking good at the moment. Your halves pairing, Mitch Moses back in the Neils jersey and back straight into that team of the week, and joined there by Katoa, Isaiah Katoa there from the Dolphins. Involved in a little sort of like shout out to the Morris brothers from back in the day, a little fake scuffle there at one stage with Alicia Katoa. I don't know if you saw that.
Didn't see that.
Yeah, just like Katoa's Alicia sort of fake swung at him, and then kind of pulled out. And it was in the midst of another little scuffle that was going on. So there was a little shout out to the Morris brothers fight from a few years gone by.
Yeah,
now.
that was classic. That was good times. But yeah, obviously.
Actually, 2 fights shout outs over the weekend. We nearly saw a repeat of the Battle of Brookie with
Taruva calling Sean Russell
out when he was being Sinbin. So 2 little shout outs there over the weekend.
Yeah, it would have been interesting had Sean Russell also got his marching orders, walking behind Taruva there. His eyes were like about to pop out.
He was ready to go.
There's redlining and then there's Taruva. But yeah, 2 gun performances really. Nothing much more to say about it. Katoa and Moses putting on tries, kicking game. Big wins for both of their teams respectively, particularly the Dolphins there. I don't think too many saw that one coming.
No, definitely a good little shock win there for the Finns up against Melbourne. Moving into that forward pack, Max King and Couchman, they're your 2 props. Max King breaking what was the longest current try scoring drought there. I think it was about 80 games or so with a meaty there on the weekend, and Couchman playing some good footy there for the Dragons at the moment.
Yeah,
out.
Couchman was fucking huge. I think he made like maybe close to, if not 50-something tackles, shitload of runs as well. Huge from him. I think he's going to have a massive season. And then shut up Maxi King, breaking that 80-odd game drought. Blake Brayley slots in the middle there at number 9 with a great performance for Cronulla on Sunday over there.
Yep, it's a pretty tasty looking front row there. Hudson Young and Kikau, they're your 2 second rows there. Both both got meaties, I'm pretty sure. Hudson Young definitely got himself a try. I think Kiko got himself one there as well. If not, had a pretty solid performance.
Try assist, one of the two.
But Hudson Young, I believe, equal top try scorer this year for Canberra Raiders, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's going so good at the moment, Hudson. I think he's pretty much got a blue jersey on the lock at this stage, the way he's playing. So shout out to him. Luca Moretti rounds it out at 13. First time team of the week for him, I'm sure.
Yep.
Huge performance for Parramatta there. He was under the skin of a few of those Tigers forwards at some stage. Just seemed like someone wound him up and
I think he was just up
got
for
him out there and ready to go because he was just running
for the
and tackling
occasion.
all day.
It was a big game for Parra. Obviously, Moses coming back, and I think a lot of the
I think that did lift
but,
hugely Parramatta's spirits. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, rounds out a pretty tasty looking team of the week there for round 7. We move into this round coming up and kick off Friday night there. Roosters up against the Dragons. Now, both teams there. Dragons obviously coming off a win, but Roosters they're getting pumped by Penrith in that break of the losing streak there for the Panthers.
Yeah, we saw the Panthers maybe not return to their best of the last 4 years, but certainly a nod to it. Scoring 40 points at least was a pretty good effort from them. Defensively, they were pretty solid as well. So yeah, look, worrying signs for the rest of the comp if they can get on a roll. The Roosters, on the other hand, kind of hard to gauge that one. They were so good the week before against Brisbane to beat them. And then up against Penrith, obviously at home, didn't offer too much there. 28-point loss. They'll be looking to avenge this one. I think no matter what, really, ANZAC Day, Roosters, Dragons, typically you do get a good clash. It's sort of that finals atmosphere, packed stadium. Everyone's fucking on the piss all day, particularly with it being a Friday. That'll just make it freaking even more ideal for the punters out there. And yeah, the players will be fired up. Sharks have probably had the run in recent years. Obviously, a couple of big ones for them last year there, but chief architect of those two big wins, Sammy Walker, is on the sidelines, obviously with an injury. Roosters last year weren't offering as much as they had, and now they've dropped off again this year.
It's a very different situation, I think. Obviously, there for
I think
so far down the table coming into this one, and the Dragons obviously having started off their season a little bit better. So, whether or not there can be a little bit of a change in recent form, and Dragons can have a win in this ANZAC Day matchup, or whether or not the Roosters can sort of bounce back from that big loss there over the weekend.
Yeah, look, I don't want to say, look, it's hard to say favourites, but yeah, I think you'd probably even just split this one 50-50 down the middle. Roosters probably on their day, the likes of James Tedesco, Dom Young out there doing their thing. They could potentially have a little bit more on paper, but yeah, you're right. Dragons probably look at the table, and we've definitely had a better start to the season than the Roosters. So shapes up to be a good one, I reckon. Quietly sitting with a little bit of confidence, but always knowing that the Roosters are sort of one or two sort of freak tries away from putting on a big score. Last year it got, what was it, 60?
Yeah, something like that.
I think they put on the end.
There's a couple of players that
got on
can
a roll.
Flick a game like that,
Once they get a head up, they can score sort of 4 or 5 tries very quickly. Who knows? Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to go into it slightly confident, I think, the way that this Roosters team have started off their season. But yeah, it'll be a big game there Friday, that's for sure. The Tigers, as always, having to wait to the end of the round. There's Sunday's second game. It seems like we play that last game pretty much week in, week out.
Religiously almost, yeah.
Yeah, but up against Cronulla, back at Leichhardt. Obviously, they're losing to the Eels, and what ended up being a bit of an ugly scoreline there in the end. And the Sharkies, another good win there up against the Knights, who are looking pretty poor at the moment. So it's going to be a tough one. But back at Leichhardt, obviously, as we said before, the big talking point will be Galvin coming back in and getting back into that starting lineup, and how the rest of the team sort of play with him being named in there again.
Yeah, exactly. We already spoke about that, but yeah, interesting to see how that plays out. As a Leichhardt, I might have got that round the wrong way.
Yeah, no, back at Leichhardt this week.
Yeah. Last year at Leichhardt, this one went pretty well for you. It was a great win. Nico Hines.
It was the Nico Hines London machine. Kicked the ball out a few times on the full, and just completely fell apart. And we ended up with a good win, and I think we ended up getting pumped in the
they more than avenged it
at the end of the season.
Fixture, that's for sure.
It's always a tough one, I think, up against the Sharkies, and particularly if Nico Hines can go out there and have himself a game, then we're going to be struggling. So I think if we can have that good start to the game, no errors, nothing silly early on, and go out there and try and get a little early lead on, and then hopefully be able to put in a solid 80-minute performance would be good as well. We seem to be sort of falling away at stages in games at the moment. Having these little 5-10 minute lapses where we ship a few tries and we just fall off. So a good 80-minute performance would be ideal in this.
Yeah, no, there was definitely 10 minutes there. Felt the period of sort of sin bins and whatnot that a few of those lads looked like they were losing their heads out there. So yeah, I'm sure you're with a lot of Tigers fans on that one. Sunday. What will that be? 6 o'clock now, with daylight savings doing its thing. Yeah. So I guess it's not as long to wait. But yeah, look, it should be a good one. At Leichhardt, you've got that home advantage. You'll be desperate to bounce back from last week. Galvin will be desperate to get out there and have the performance of his career to sort of shut up all this media hype around him. I think it could go well for you this Sunday. Cronulla obviously a very good side, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it definitely it's all weighing on how the rest of the lads react to Galvin being back. If they can sort of put it aside and just go out there and play the footy that we've been playing before all this had happened, then I think we could be all right. But it's also could be very Tigerish of us to go out there and lose by 40 or 50 and you try and use this as an excuse as to why we played so poorly. So fingers crossed for a win, and go into that Magic Round game with a little bit of form, a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, huge one there next week. Next weekend, I guess. But look, in the other code, in the round ball, it's been bloody good going to be an Arsenal fan the last couple of weeks since we last recorded. We've obviously had the two legs of the quarterfinal there up against Real Madrid, and doesn't get much better than that for an Arsenal fan.
No, two very good wins. Obviously, clean sheet there in that first game. A couple of amazing free kicks there from Declan Rice to see us over the line, and then travel over to Spain and nab another win, 2-1 there. And win by 4 goals on aggregate is pretty good up against Real Madrid, who are the Champions League specialists.
Yeah, look, when they're rolling around with 15 on their sleeves, they're a pretty serious club. But look, as much as Arsenal maybe haven't had go their way, never lost to Real Madrid. That's a pretty impressive stat. Obviously, only the 4 games in our history, but
It's
I'd say it wouldn't take Real Madrid too many more than 4 games to get their first one against too many other clubs.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty cool stat, and it was also the first time we'd conceded up against Real Madrid as well.
Yeah.
That game in the second leg. So two really good performances. We got through pretty much without any damage there. Only
Partey will miss that first leg
for that
through,
first leg.
through too many yellows, which is a shame
But
because
everyone else is they get reset now after the quarterfinals, so it goes back to back to evens there. For I know Rice was on a yellow. I think Erdegaard as well was possibly on a yellow away from a ban. So they're pretty much without any damage there, and tees up a pretty cool fixture up against PSG there next week. But we also had a good win there, carried on that form into the Premier League there, up against Ipswich on the weekend. Kind of looked like it was pretty much game, set, and match about half an hour in when they had that red card. And seemed like we were going to run away with that. I was pretty confident by that stage. Once they went down to 10 men.
100%, yeah. It was. We were all over them before that. Really, it was looking like it wasn't going to take too long for us to sort of rack up a 2-3 goal lead and then sort of just sit comfy waiting for the following sort of Champions League fixture. Really, because we're just. What are we? If we don't get a result and Liverpool win, do they win the league or do they win the league regardless?
They win the league regardless this week.
So we're going to have to give them a fucking guard of honour when we go to Anfield.
Yep. We will have to give them a guard of honour when we go to
After
Anfield.
being in the title race with them.
As long as they don't go out there and do what United did to Chelsea years ago and play some second string team, and we're going to give some guard of honour to a team captained by Harvey Elliott or something like that. But yeah, we will have to come then. But yeah, one more result away for Liverpool there from winning the league. So
yeah, there we go. But yeah, obviously back to Ipswich. Was good to see Martinelli back on the score sheet again. 2 games in a row for him. After scoring the winner at the Bernabeu. Trossard got a couple and 1 year. I don't know how many that takes him to for this season.
So it's a good return for him, that's for sure.
Maybe even 7, 8. But yeah, look, pretty good stuff. Obviously not as impressive or as shocking of a result there for too many punters out there, Ipswich Town. But yeah, look, a good performance nonetheless, puts us in good stead to kick into Crystal Palace at the Emirates tomorrow at home. Obviously one where we'll just sort of be going through the motions a little bit with Liverpool set to confirm their crown.
I think it's going to be a tough one as well. Just really. Palace have been a little bit up and down, I think, but they've had some pretty solid performances there. Matita's been scoring some good goals.
And their late season, my usual late season charge.
Yeah, so it could be a tough one. There is still that possibility of us not finishing in second place, obviously. City had a good win there. A last minute win there up against Villa. Nottingham Forest obviously knocking on our tails as well there. So it is a game that we want to go out there and get a win in and then just continue that form before we get into the Champions League.
100%, yeah. And things have gone pretty good for us up against Palace of late. 6 wins on the trot against them, including 5 in the Premier League, having only conceded 3 in those 5. So good signs for an Arsenal win. As you said, though, they have been playing pretty well lately, so it will be tough. Probably tougher than Ipswich put up over the weekend, but yeah, keep that momentum going. And on to the following Wednesday, which will be a huge one for the Arsenal. PSG at home again. We hosted them earlier this season, obviously
In the group stages,
a little bit less on the line in that one, but it turned out pretty good for us, 2-0. Dominant display there. Another European giant that we've never lost to in my research.
Are the current favourites as well, I believe, going into this, or at least from the Optus supercomputer or whatever it is, with the highest percentage chance of taking it out. I think PSG, it's going to be a big step. I think regardless of if we can get through that, whoever we play in the final, it's going to be tough. I think Barcelona obviously playing some pretty good football, and Inter having knocked out Bayern, on track to do the treble after having done it in 2009. I saw something today about Arnautovic. He was there when they did it in 2009, and he's there now again. So I think either team, it could be a repeat of the 2006 Champions League final there, Arsenal versus Barcelona. Or we could see PSG making a final up, going for their first Champions League. So you've got two teams that haven't won it before and two teams that haven't won it for a wee while. So it does make a pretty interesting looking semi-final matchup there.
Yeah, 100%. It's the four, well, maybe not the four best teams in terms of how they've been going this season, but look, it's the final four of the Champions League. So yeah, we're going to claim it. Four best teams in Europe. Yeah, look, PSG, they've improved. They've picked up a few really impressive results. Since we versed them earlier in the season, I think that was probably a stage where maybe they were still sort of figuring a few things out. But yeah, look, they might not have as many big names as they once had a couple of years ago. To pick up wins, did they win at Anfield or did they just beat Liverpool? Aggregate.
I can't remember, to be fair.
They might have drawn at Anfield.
One on aggregate.
Yeah, beating Liverpool on aggregate, who have been head and shoulders the best team in England, leaves us in worrying signs for this one. But confidence will be at an all-time high within the Arsenal team camp as well, having picked up a huge win there. Yeah, look, Saka's back. We've got enough forwards now that Mikel Merino got to start back in his natural midfield on the weekend, which is probably an option as well for this European tie.
Starting to look a little bit more like a normal Arsenal lineup.
Still don't have an out-and-out number 9, but look, Trossard, he'll do the job if he can keep scoring braces as he did on the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. I think if we can get a good win in this one, travel to France, put in a solid result, don't concede any goals, and we'll be heading to a final. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, Munich. Start booking your tickets, Arsenal fans.
Yeah, hopefully cut there. End of May, beginning of June, we'll be tuning into a little bit of finals footy there for Arsenal. I believe the last final we must have been involved with was Europa League against Chelsea.
Yeah.
That we lost, was it 4-1? I think it was 4-1, 3-1. I believe it ended up not being
4-1.
Not being
last European final. Yeah.
Last European final that we were in.
Because we were in the 2021 FA Cup.
After that, yeah.
After COVID, one of it, or 2020.
But yeah, hopefully a win tomorrow, a win there next week, and continue that form into that second leg. Would be the ideal scenario there for Arsenal.
100%. Keep it going. On to Munich.
Yep. That is the plan. We've seen a little bit of a change at the moment in the Premier League standings in the darting world. A couple of players, obviously Bunting getting his first win there a couple of weeks ago, and then Dobie there last weekend taking the win up against Bunting in the final for his first nightly win there. So it just creates a little bit more of a bottleneck there in that sort of race for third and fourth place. And I think it leaves only MVG and I want to it might actually just be MVG now the only player not to have a nightly win. Bunting's got one, Humphreys has, Littler has, Price has, Adobe has Aspinall, possibly not, maybe he has actually as well. I think maybe everyone bar MVG. But he turned it on there over the weekend, getting the win there yesterday morning. Not in Munich, but in Germany, I believe. Nailing a 9 data along the way, and beating Jan van Veen, his fellow countryman, in the final there, who just had a pretty solid performance, I believe, in the in sort of the mid 110s there, putting in an average of that up against Luke Littler in the semi, and then just coming short up against MVG there in the final. So he'll be coming into a little bit of form and hoping to break that drought there in this year's Premier League and nab another win. They'll be battling it out again there this Friday morning. And then I believe they have another European Tour event over the weekend. Nothing for hopes. He's had a couple of qualifiers there over the last week or so, but hasn't really been doing too much. I actually think he was back in New Zealand over the weekend for a multi-golf event, I'm pretty sure. So I saw a couple of videos of him pumping some drives down the fairway, swinging at about 40%, and probably hitting at about 300 metres or so. So very talented bloke, maybe not having the best luck on the darting circuit this year, but obviously still able to come back and get involved in a little bit of golf while he's at it. Probably wraps us up for another week. So as always, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to get involved in all your socials. Give us a like, give us a 5-star, get subscribed. Enjoy your week ahead. Enjoy whatever sport you may be getting involved with. If you're having a punt, do it responsibly, and I hope we'll see you here next week.
Yep, sounds good to me. See you then.
Ciao.
Marshall skips away. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing.
Bennett and the Dragons win